Welcome to What Resonates. This podcast is about tuning into energy, intuition, and what feels true for you. Each conversation invites you to notice what sparks curiosity and feels aligned, opening a wider field of possibility for yourself and for humanity. Keep tuning in and follow What Resonates. Welcome to What Resonates. I'm Andrea Kennedy, and today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Ann Théato. Ann is a psychic medium, tutor, award-winning writer, and the host of her own podcast called Psychic Matters. So maybe you've already heard of Ann. She also investigates psychic development, mediumship techniques, and paranormal science on her show. She teaches mediumship. She hosts the free Mediumship Hour every Tuesday and offers one-on-one sessions too. You're so busy, Ann. I am just thrilled to have you here. And so thanks for setting some time aside to engage with our audience here and hopefully explore some topics that of great interest to our listeners, our viewers on YouTube. Mediumship is one of those topics I think that people are really curious about and maybe don't understand it fully. And I'm wondering if you can actually describe or define mediumship, because what I'm finding lately is with some of these modalities, some of these fields, the definitions are getting a little muddy. Channeling is something that I do, and that's taking on a whole nother definition out there in the world. And I'm wondering about mediumship. You've been practicing for a very long time. And so first, how long? And then, when did you get your start? But also, what is mediumship in your view, and how you practice?
Yeah, great question, Andrea. And thank you for inviting me onto your podcast. It's really lovely to be here with you and all your listeners and viewers. Mediumship is, let me answer some of your questions. I've been teaching this for about 38 years. Been teaching how to use the psychic mind for a very long time. And mediumship, in my definition today, and you're right, things do change. Mediumship is the ability of a living person to move their conscious mind to one side, to blend their subconscious mind and soul with the eternal consciousness of somebody who used to live here but is now in the spirit world, and bring forward information for a sitter that the sitter will find evidential. And the reason that we do it is to prove that this life is not the only life and that we continue on in the form of energy once we pass away.
Thank you for that. So is mediumship then always about contacting a deceased person and relaying messages?
Well, I think that's another really good question, Andrea, actually, because yes, mediumship as we know it mostly is communicating with a dead person, right? A dead person's consciousness. That's what mediumship is. But we can also use our mediumship, our ability to blend with eternal consciousness in the form of being able to channel that into art, channel that into music, channel that into healing. So you can have healing mediumship. You can have trance mediumship, so the type of mediumship that I do mostly is mental mediumship. That's what we call it, mental mediumship. It's from the mind of the spirit communicator through the mind of the medium to the person sitting in front of us. So it's from spirit through spirit to spirit. But you can use your mediumship in so many different ways. Inspired speaking, inspired addresses, being able to be moved to speak the words of the spirit communicator, the hive mind also of spirit. Maybe your listeners or viewers are familiar with the work of Esther and Jerry Hicks, where they channel, obviously, the consciousness of Abraham, which is a collective. So you can use your mediumship and your ability to connect in many, many different ways. The methods that I teach, mostly I teach mental mediumship. Occasionally I teach trance mediumship. Yeah.
I see. Well, with Esther and Jerry Hicks, I never really thought of them as bringing through a deceased person. So I'm a little, I don't know. I'm a little.
No, they're connecting with the hive mind of something called Abraham.
Right.
Which is a collective consciousness from spirit. As far as I understand it, I'm not an expert in their work, but they're not connecting with an individual human being who used to live, who belongs to the sitter in front of you.
Right. But you use the word mediumship for that too?
Well, it's because mediumship, because it's mediumship is, as far as I teach it anyway, you're the medium, you're the middle person, you're the intermediary. So whatever passes through you from the world of spirit and beyond, other realms beyond, then you're the medium that brings that through. So
I see. Yeah, that really clicked for me when you said you're like the intermediary. You're the in-between person, the medium in that equation. So that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from what you're saying, then mediumship is channeling. Mediumship is also, so it doesn't have to be with a person who's crossed over. It can be these other things. Do I have that right?
Mediumship can be used in other ways, but I think we have to be very clear when we're working, which way we're working. So you can't just bundle in there to a client and just give a whole load of information if you're not sure even yourself where it's coming from, because that would be ethically wrong. So you can't pretend a spirit person is with you if they are not, clearly. And you can't pass off psychic information. So psychic is reading the living. So you've got an energetic, an energy field that surrounds you, your auric field, and it contains your story, your experiences. And a person, such as myself, a psychic, could tap into that and bring forward information. So we do psychic readings in this way for life guidance for people. But you must know that you're using your psychic gift and not your mediumistic gift at that point. So you've got to be very, very clear about which faculty you are using when you're working with a client.
I think this is so important, what you're just saying, because isn't that the hang up for a lot of people? Because they'll start to maybe get hits. I don't know if that's even a very appropriate word, but their intuition or, whatever, that they start seeing that they can psychically get some things, but they don't have the knowledge to know where it's coming from, or if they should trust it, or if it's in their highest good, maybe to, be open to that. And you brought up ethics too. And I just feel like, and I don't know, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but I feel kind of like it's the Wild West out there. And we've got so many people saying, oh, I can read this and, come to me for readings or whatever. Like everybody's putting out their shingle, so to speak, to do sessions. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of them out there and they don't know exactly what the source of the information, like what you're talking about, they don't have a definition of exactly what they're doing, but yet they're seeing people. I wonder if you could speak about that, because I'm sure you've seen quite a bit through the years.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful that we've got so many practitioners trying to assist humanity, really. So I think that's a wonderful thing. I really do. And I think we should always be careful about stay in your own lane, as they say. Let other people do them and you do you. Because who knows who's right and who's wrong. That's a human construct as well. So, but for me, I'm just very clear about the type of work that I do and what you'll get if you come and see me for a reading or you come to my classes for tuition. I think the problems that students have when they come to me, which maybe touches on your question or your consideration here, is they don't know where the information is coming from. They're not sure if they're making it up in their conscious mind, whether it's truly coming from the spirit world, whether they're picking up psychically. They're just not sure where that information is coming from. And at first, when you first learn, you don't know. It's very difficult to know. And it's only by the diligent study of mediumship and the focused practice that you undertake, that you, with a supportive teacher who understands the trial and the error and the highs and the lows, that you will make very good progress. But you do have to focus quite hard on doing plenty of practice, I would say. Have a high ethical standard yourself. That's what I would suggest.
I agree with you that people need to be responsible for what they're doing, that kind of thing. But if someone is listening to this conversation and they're interested in having a reading with someone, what do they need to look for in that person? That's kind of what I'm getting at, because this is pretty sacred work, wouldn't you say?
Oh, it is. Yeah. Yes, it absolutely is. If you are looking to have a reading with a medium, you want to be looking at a few things. First of all, it's use your intuition always, always, always. Does it feel right in your gut, in your tummy? Does that feel really uplifting, beautiful when you look at the picture of the person or you go to their website? If there's any resistance, then maybe that's not the medium for you this week, next week. So I would definitely go with your intuition, but also you need to look for somebody who has had training, who has got a very good reputation. Perhaps word of mouth is a good way to hear about people. I personally would be going to, I don't know, I'd look for a medium in many different ways. You could go to a local spiritualist church. They would have a list of recommended practitioners that would be working in an ethical way. Or you might want to, because not everybody works through a spiritualist church and not everybody's part of spiritualist religion either. So you could Google a college where they teach such things and look for a teacher that you might be drawn to. Go to their website, see if that resonates. Just use some intelligence as you're looking for your person, but look for their background. Look for testimonials as well. That's, somebody who's out there doing the work should have some authentically written testimonials from people who have had a lovely time. But also I think you've got to be careful, because you might book in with the best medium in the world in your eyes, but it may not go quite that way on the day, because mediumship is always an experiment. Every single reading has to be an experiment. It's never been done before. You've never arrived in the room with the stresses or lack of stresses that you bring to it that day. The medium hasn't either. And the spirit people as well, they're part of it too. So everything has to align for that beautiful balance, so that the medium can attune their mind to the mind of the spirit communicator and work with you, the sitter. So mostly it's perfectly fine and it works well, but sometimes it doesn't. And I do mediumship readings all the time, but guaranteed there'll be a couple each year that you can't quite, for various reasons, it just isn't quite working. And in which case that person gets their money back, and any medium working would do the same. And that would be the way forward, yeah.
Do people come to readings with always a specific person that they want to have contact with?
Yeah, I think so. I think people do. People are very sweet and they say, whoever comes through is fine. And whoever comes through is fine. But as a medium, whether you've what my job is to touch the need, to reach the need of the person in front of me. So I have to feel intuitively if I've met that within them. And if I feel I haven't quite got there within the reading, well, I'll leave time, of course, so that if I haven't quite got the person that they want, then I will attempt to do that before our reading is finished. We can't summon the spirit world. It's up to them to come and present themselves. But when there is a great need, if you've got somebody grieving for someone in the spirit world, it usually aligns very beautifully. And the spirit people are usually there, yes.
Do you feel as though there is work behind the scenes before you ever sit down with them? Meaning, if they have a desire to have a certain loved one come through, does that loved one know about it already? Has there been some sort of appointment made ahead of time, do you think?
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? I do believe that is a true thing that happens, that the spirit world are very much aware of our thoughts at all times, of what we're doing, what happens to us, because through my own mediumship, I am able to tell people what they've been doing recently, what the spirit person has seen of their life. So we know that the spirit world keeps a very gentle, soft and loving arms around us and look out for us at all times. So I do believe, because of that, they know that there's a mediumship reading booked and they're going to try their best to turn up for that, yeah. But it has happened where I've read for people. I remember reading for one lady. The reading was fine, but at the end, she said, I was really hoping that my son would come through. And he hadn't. And I tried to feel into him because I asked, well, if you give me your son's name and tell me how old he was when he passed, let me see. Because with just a little bit of information at that point in a reading, I can see if I can feel into him a little. But I couldn't on that day. I just couldn't. And she was fine about it. She said, oh, no problem at all. So you don't want to force it. You don't want to pretend that that person is there when patently they're not. So there are things that people do in the spirit world. They're living lives. They're skiing, they're swimming, they're building houses, they're meeting friends, they're traveling. There's all kinds of things that they're doing over there. So maybe they just didn't have time that day. I don't know. But usually they would come, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about the life on the other side and skiing and doing these things? Can you just elaborate on what's really going on over there?
Yeah, it's ever so interesting. I can only go from, because I can only tell you this through my own experience of my own mediumship. So this is where my truth is coming from. And it's true for me. So I offer it to your viewers and your listeners, and then they can accept it or not accept it as they wish. But the spirit world, from the messages I've brought through, what happens in a reading is you will bring forward information that is descriptive about their personality, maybe how they passed away, who was with them at the end, this kind of thing. And then I might bring forward information that shows what they see of the recipient's world, what the sitter is doing, and then often they'll speak about what they're doing in the spirit world. And some of the things that, if I rack my brains, I've worked with one person. I said he's gone to Canada, he's gone to Ontario, he's gone to 2 different places in Canada. Oh, yes, he always wanted to go there, said the recipient. I said, well, he's there now. This is what he's doing. I said, and you've got family there because he's visiting family. So he's obviously keeping an eye on the family over there. Things like that. There's one boy I remember, a young man, very young, bless his heart, went to spirit world very young, teens, and he was skiing down mountains, but there was all of the thrill and none of the risk. That's what he was doing in the spirit world. And she, I think the lady said that he was a skier or loved skiing when he was here. So there's all types of different things that they're doing. They're meeting up. You can, he's with this person or that person. Sometimes I can become aware of, as they move from this world and they gently move to the spirit world, you sort of sometimes know who's greeted them from the spirit world. So you can describe those people whose arms they moved into when they passed away. So all kinds of different things. And when the spirit communicators work with me, I find myself saying some strange things sometimes because the conscious mind isn't involved or shouldn't be involved. You're so blended with a spirit communicator that your conscious mind isn't able to think of words, construct sentences, things like that, because the information is moving into your mind at a rapid pace. So I've said things like, "Oh, your grandmother tells me that your daughter can move along the streets without moving her feet." I said, "How's she doing that? She's moving along the street, but she's not moving her feet. She's going like this." And she said, "Yes, she just got a skateboard today or yesterday." So I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is what the spirit person is saying, and I know that the person isn't walking. Or another example, "Your hair has gone up. You used to have hair here, but they say it's gone up. Your hair's gone up." She said, "Yes, I've just had a haircut." So sometimes you're not able to say, "Oh, you've just had a haircut," because you're just literally translating how it moves into the awareness. Yeah.
It's
fascinating. Yeah, it really is. It's really interesting. It's beautiful work.
Oh, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
What about reincarnation? Because I guess I don't want to say anything else. What is your view from your experience? Of course, everything's just based on our own experiences, but what's your understanding of that, and how has that ever come up in your sessions?
Well, I do past life regression. I'm a qualified past life regression therapist, hypnotherapist. So I do conduct readings like that, and I find that work absolutely fascinating. I 100% believe that we reincarnate, and that we go back to the spirit world and we reincarnate into different lifetimes, different experiences. That's what I believe, definitely. If you speak to a spiritualist medium under the religion of spiritualism, they would not accept reincarnation, because only for the fact that at the moment, the way that the science is on it, it can't be proven to be evidential. So that's why. So it would have to be evidential for them to accept it. But spiritualism is a very open religion, open-minded, and so I feel they're just waiting for it to be a little bit more concrete, and then perhaps they'll accept it into their teachings. Yeah.
Have you ever done a mediumship type of reading for someone, and information on the spirit's reincarnation or past lives come through? And I guess what I mean is, are they ever not there because they're actually in a body again? I mean, how have you come across that?
It's interesting to think about, isn't it? Because that's how our conscious mind would kind of try to work it out. Like, how does that actually work then? But in my experience, I know that has never happened. And when I work, I'm focused and disciplined with what I'm doing. So it's a spirit communicator belonging to the person in front of me. That's who I bring through. So I'm not looking to move outside of those parameters when I'm working. But I do believe that the soul of us is fragmented. I don't think we have one soul and it's stuck here inside this little body, and then we leave this body, the body dies, and we go back to the spirit world. I don't think it's that at all. I feel we're fragmented across time and space. I feel our consciousness is having many different experiences in many different worlds all at the same time. This is just my personal opinion. And And so we're very fragmented. And I feel if we raise our consciousness, we can make contact with more other parts of ourselves. That's what I feel. For guidance, for healing, for advice, all this kind of stuff. But it's a fascinating concept. But past life regression is definitely a thing. Yes, in my book.
I actually agree with you. I think that we're multidimensional. I think it would just blow our minds to how immense and enormous our consciousness is, and simultaneously doing so many different things. At least that's kind of what I heard you say. But when you were talking, I was like, yes, that resonates with me, and what I've experienced myself. Do you think then past lives aren't really past lives? They're just simultaneous lives, but we call them past lives?
Yeah, I do actually. We call them past lives, but I do wonder if we're living them all at the same time, because time from the quantum science perspective is not linear, and time is a man-made concept as well. So, so anything could be happening, couldn't it, really? We just haven't got the ability to comprehend it. And I think that's because so much is hidden from us as human beings. We only have the capacity inside the human mind to understand or know of certain concepts. If you think about radio waves, microwaves, all these different things, all happening all around us all the time, we're not aware of it. We are. We know that they're there. But look at it this way. If you're a tiny ant and you're living in your little ant world and, feeding the queen ant with whatever and making all the baby ants, then you're busy doing that. You don't know about politics. You don't know about space travel. You don't know about other realms and the sun and the moon and the stars and the sky. And, well, maybe they know a little bit about that because they're navigating their way through the world. But they're so much is hidden from them, all the different languages, all the different cultures. We think about us in the great cosmos that is the multiverse. What we just don't know, because we're so tiny and insignificant, is unfathomable, I think.
Oh, I'm right there with you, Anne. Right there. I love the ant example, and the way I've said it sometimes is, it's like trying to assess the universe through a peephole in your front door. You can only see so much out that peephole, and there's a whole world and universe beyond that. So yes, it's just mind-blowing to think about.
That's right. And some of us are venturing into that. We're having travels in consciousness. It's becoming a little bit more, wouldn't you say, Andrea, not mainstream, but more talked about now. People are quite interested in it. Quantum science is kind of verifying some of the things that us woo-woo folk have known for a long, long time. And now that we've got the science to back it up, blah, blah, blah. So things are moving forward. And yet, the consciousness that we all have, the ability to intuitively read someone, to intuitively heal, to channel information, to astral travel, to do remote viewing, all of these types of things. We have huge ability, but it's never been taught to us. We finally seek it out when we can't bear not knowing about it any longer. We go and try and find a teacher. But if we could teach children these topics of consciousness travel, meditation, all of this type of stuff, can't you imagine what a different world we would live in? It would be so different, vastly different to the one that we're living in. And we're living in a time where it's so frowned upon. People are skeptical about it with good reason. I think you should be very skeptical about everything until it's proven true to you. If we could only put more education, I'm so hot on the education of it, trying to educate people about it. If we could only educate our children to be more intuitive about how they feel, how they make others feel. Reading energy of others in this way, we'd have a vastly different world, is all I can say.
Don't you think, though, that we are helping to create that through what we're doing? You know, your podcast, all your sessions that you do, your weekly events, just us talking about it. I mean, I teach classes myself, and I get so excited because I'm seeing younger people come to the classes and people who have young children. So I get goosebumps, you know, just talking about it. I get really excited because those children are growing up with parents who are exploring these things, who are open to these things. And I just think it's the leading edge, I think. And as parents learn things about human design and astrology and mediumship and psychic abilities and all of those things, I'm really curious too about what is life like for those children. And I think with COVID, it got people thinking a little bit outside the box as far as education for their children and, why am I making these choices about how I raise my family? I think it invited some people to maybe make a new choice or at least consider other options. Do you have any thoughts on that?
When you say consider other options, what do you mean, such as?
Well, here in the U.S., a lot of parents went to homeschooling or just non-traditional, so not the public school anymore. There's a woman I know who homeschools her children, and these children are amazing. I mean, very intuitive, very creative. Their childhoods don't look anything like the childhoods of, my own children. And I was open, but I was just going through the mainstream steps, the expected, decisions that I thought were, I guess I would say, quote, right at the time. If I were raising young children today, I don't know. I would probably choose some different things for them because I just know more now than I did then. And I'm more comfortable in that instead of feeling as though I'm an outsider. I actually have shifted with that. And I feel like, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't have to fit into that anymore. But I'm thinking that it's just becoming more and more common for parents and, of course, grandparents, but parents to look beyond how they were raised, the narratives that they were told about, as they were growing up and their parents. So I don't know. I'm quite hopeful. I do think that things are shifting with the young people. Part of me wishes it was a little faster, but I'm sure everything's happening, right on time.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely changing. And I've got two children. One's 24, one's 29. How did that happen? And the way that they speak and how when they move through their teens and early 20s and even now, that they and their friends have got very different outlooks to us. They're very open to all of this thing. They very much look out for each other. They want to look out for the planet. They want to look out for the world itself. They feel as if they've inherited a world that is doomed, and they feel like they're I don't know, they feel disillusioned with the world that we're handing them. And so they're really open to new ways, and you can feel it through all the friendship group. And it's beautiful. It's really interesting. It's a big shift in energy and a big shift in this acceptance of this type of thing. They're all very interested in it, I think. We, as little human beings here, we can only take, it's like a relay race. We can only take the baton up the field a little way before we conk out, die. and then we have to pass the baton on to somebody else. So we can only make small changes in the world. So as you say, you know, with your podcast, Andrea, which is doing so well and resonating with so many people across the world, it's a beautiful thing that you bring to people. My little podcast, the same. We're just doing small things that we're interested in, we're passionate about, but we love. And it's helping spread the word, and it's helping people look at things in a different way. And I definitely feel there is a shift happening across the world, not just in the young people, but in people our age as well. We are changing, and I think also with all the wars and all the displaced people across the world, it's so heartbreaking. I think people are becoming kinder. There's a great kindness in humanity at the moment. I think I really do feel that, even though it's contrasted with all the wars, they're not that's not what we want. Nobody in the world wants all that fighting and bombing. We want to take in our neighbour. We want to embrace them. We want to feed them, clothe them, find them somewhere to live that's safe. Yeah.
I love that message, because I think it's hard sometimes to remember that or to believe that, on some days. But the world's a lot right now, isn't it? But I agree with you too about the young people, the very different outlook. Yeah, it's very, very hopeful. You mentioned your children. I have two myself, and they're right about the same ages as yours. So isn't that neat? But you have been doing this work for well beyond, prior to you having your children. So I would imagine that would have had quite, an impact, on how you were raising them and what they saw. Do they have interest in this kind of work at all? Do they do it as well?
No. My son's a multi-instrumentalist, musician, and he's a sound engineer and a producer living in Australia at the moment. And my daughter is a fashion designer. But they are both incredibly intuitive, incredibly so. And it did make for an interesting childhood. I didn't speak to them about spirit people at all. I didn't want them to be alarmed or scared or anything like that. So I didn't really say much to them as they were growing up. But my daughter, she told me she was seeing spirit people in the house. So that's how I knew that she was aware of them. She was telling me, because I'd be saying to her, "What are you doing? Get in the car. Come on, we're leaving." And she'd be chatting, looking up. What are you doing? I'm talking to the lady at the top of the stairs. Like, what lady? The lady that's there every day. I speak to her, this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh, okay. So there was all that sort of stuff going on. In fact, I interviewed my daughter on my podcast maybe about 4 years ago, and she spoke about her childhood and the things that she saw and how it was being brought up in my household, because I was a single parent, and it was just me and my daughter and my son. But we did lovely things, Andrea, at night time. So I tucked them into bed, and of course we always read books every night. We read books. Sometimes I'd sit with them and I'd play my guitar and sing them songs. But most nights, well, often, I would say to them, because you know how lovely children smell when they've just had a bath or a wash, and they're all in their fresh pajamas and they're just so gorgeous. And I used to say, "Here, let me smell you," and I'd smell their neck, and I'd be like, I know what you've been up to today. And they say, "Go on then, tell me." And I'd be able to psychically read them and say, "Oh, you climbed a tree and somebody fell out, somebody had an accident, and so was crying, and so got in trouble, and the teacher told you about this and that." And they were like, "How do you do that?" And I said, "Because I can smell it off you, darling." So, which I couldn't. I wasn't smelling it. I was just intuitively aware of it. But I taught them. I said, "Now you try with me. What did I do today? What do you think I got up to?" And they'd smell, "Oh, I think you did this and I think you did that." But they were intuitively reading me. And it was a good way for me to teach them how to psychically read somebody without actually saying, "This is a psychic reading." So it's interesting.
Oh, that is so neat. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I have to say, when you were saying that what they do today, what that they're not doing like readings for people or whatever, they're having these lives and with these other interests. I think that's amazing because they're taking their, I don't know what the word is, but they're taking the fullness of their psychic ability or their ability to tune in and be, I don't know, tapped in or something into these other realms, into these other fields, and they're operating among other people, but they have this depth to them. I think that's actually incredible because they're living with and talking with and just having these lives, but yet there's this whole other side to them. I don't know. I just feel like that could have such a great impact.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Andrea, because they say when you're young, you know what you want to do in the world, you know what you want to do. And I watched them carefully when they were little, and I thought, oh my gosh, my son could not stop listening to music, every type of music he could listen to. He would listen to everything. When I was growing up, my mother banned me from listening to some music. She wouldn't let me listen to all kinds of different things. She didn't like the lyrics. She thought they were drug addicts. You're not listening to that. You're not doing that. So a lot of stuff was banned. I went the opposite. I let my son listen to everything. When he was little, he could sing loads of songs from Eminem and all kinds of people. And then I noticed he was wanting to play the guitar. So I made a little star chart, and for £1, he did some house chores. He got a star. When he did 28 chores, he had £28, and I bought him his first guitar. And I've still got it. It's a tiny little guitar. I've kept it at home while he's in Australia. And then I worked 7 jobs, and I gave him piano lessons. I offered him, he had cello lessons. He did drumming. He did all kinds of different things. And that was really his passion from being very little. Even when he was tiny in primary school, they were playing pretend instruments. He was only about 3 or 4 in play school. And they were playing pretend instruments. And he was really anxious and cross when he didn't have the bass. He wanted bass guitar. He wanted the bass guitar shape to play, not the triangle or whatever he was given. So that was quite funny. And then my daughter, I watched her closely and I thought, oh my goodness, here we go. Every day she would go to, now she had a school uniform, Andrea, right? And it was a red and white check blouse or dress and a pair of grey shorts, or you could have a skirt, which was half shorts, half skirt. She never went to school in the same thing twice. And I see she mixes up her clothes. Now, I always let her dress herself because that's another thing. My mother would just force me to wear sensible shoes, sensible clothes. I wasn't allowed to express myself through clothing, nothing like that. So I let my kids do it. And so she would go to school with her shoes on the wrong feet, just to be different. She would have a bunch here and a bunch coming out the other side of her head. She'd have the skirt with a top, with a sports top, or the dress with the shoes, every day was different. I was astonished. And then on World Book Day, all the kids go in, it's World Book Day, so they choose something. She would always make her own costume, aged 5, 6. She would get pieces of fabric, because I was a sewer, so I had loads of fabric. She'd go and get stuff, and she'd cut it together. And so when I saw in a local paper that there was a sewing school on a Saturday, I took another job. I thought, right, she's going there. So I furnished what their soul was already trying to express, and I gave them the capacity and the ability to express that in whichever way it needed to be expressed. And that is, I think, probably a great gift that a parent can give to a child, to just let them be who they have come to be.
Yes. What a wonderful example. of that, of kind of what we're talking about. When we're different, when we have different, when we make different choices, then we act from those choices. And this is a great example because you also brought your mother into it, and how your own upbringing helped inform how you raised your children. And so it's kind of like a beautiful story, but it all goes together, doesn't it? Because if your mom hadn't been like that, maybe you wouldn't have been that kind of mom, to your children. It's just so fascinating, really. You mentioned something a while back, and I'd like to ask you about it. You use the term psychic mind, and I'm wondering so you teach mediumship, and you're a tutor, and many, many things. What's the difference from being psychic and a medium?
Yeah, great question, Andrea. So a psychic reads the living, and a medium reads the dead. That's the difference. So if you're giving somebody a psychic reading, you're feeling into their energy. So if I'm giving you a psychic reading, I'd feel into your auric field. I'd feel into the things that are challenging you at the moment, things that are going great, and everything in between. And I would be looking at you, feeling your energy, listening to your voice say yes, no. So blending with your energy in that way and giving you a psychic reading. If I'm working mediumistically, then I would be feeling into the mind of the spirit communicators who come close to me and translate what they say, like an interpreter would interpret French or Spanish, and I simply give what they give to me, and I give it to you.
And then do you use any tools like crystal balls, or do you do psychometry, or does this have other, aspects to it besides just sitting with someone and it's just you and them?
Yeah, great question. So I love a psychic tool. I love tools. I really do. I think they're fabulous. And in my classes, I've got a great class actually. Don't know that I'm offering it later. Maybe I might offer it later this year. It's called the Psychic Games. And it's like gladiators when we all go into the ring to play these psychic games and use all these psychic tools to read with. And it's such fun. I love crystal balls. I teach people how to read a crystal ball. I love tarot. Was my first foray into this world. I got tarot cards when I was 17, and I've been reading them ever since. I've learned how to read now without using anything at all, but I was hooked on just the tarot cards. That's how I get my information, until I realised actually the information is coming from me, not the piece of paper with the coloured stuff on it. So I don't really use tarot cards that much unless somebody books a tarot reading, or I'm working at a psychic fair, and then it's nice to have the cards. But that's my first foray in was the tarot cards. And I read runes. Well, not so much runes. I did a little bit of rune reading. Bowls of water. There's such a thing as a seer stone, which is a half-polished stone which you can see into. It's like the equivalent of a crystal ball, if you like. I use pieces of paper, crumpled up bits of paper, a pen. I teach people how to read anything on the desk. My little scrumpled up pencil, you could read that, or my reading glasses, you could just read that for somebody. Anything at all. You could use it as a springboard into the psychic mind to see what comes up, what bubbles up into your mind. So I'm all for a psychic tool. And psychometry is really interesting. So to psychometrize an object and feel into the energy of it to pick up information about the owner of that item, let's say. Or I'm teaching a course in psychometry in September, actually. If anybody wants to learn, come on my psychometry course. But we're looking at reading the energy of buildings and places and photographs and people and belongings and things like that. Yeah. So, yeah, you're feeling the energy of it and what's there. Just like I would feel the energy of you, see what's there. You can feel the energy of an object and see what's there. But with psychometry, you can have different layers of energy upon something. So say, for instance, my mother's wedding ring, which I've had to take off because I had a problem on my finger. I was wearing it after she passed away, and I wore it for 2 years, and then I've had to take it off recently. But if somebody was to psychometrize that, because I've worn it for 2 years, they'd feel a lot of stuff for me. But underneath that, they'd also feel the layer of information that is contained within about my mother as well. So, yeah, it's a fascinating topic.
Yes. And so if there's layers like that, and if you're reading that, is it apparent? Or I guess my question is, it takes training, right, to know whose layer belongs to whom, so that you're not thinking that your energy in the ring is this, like it's all one person. So do you get training, or do you teach them how to know the different layers?
I think just to say that the different layers exist is enough. I think for us as psychics, I think it would be extraordinarily hard to sift through all the layers of what belongs to who and what happens. But they do. But an item will contain a story, most definitely. So you may be able to say, I feel pulled to an older lady or a younger woman with this. Maybe you might be able to say that. But so say, for instance, if you are reading the energy of an old castle, right? You've gone into this old castle and you want to feel, who was here in the Roman days? What happened here? Well, you're probably not going to feel it because there's been so much energy put in there by the passing general public that have now re-imprinted that castle with the other stuff. That the old stuff with the Romans is long gone. But there might be parts of places in that castle that might contain fragments of energy that you might be able to read, such as the corners, because people don't go and stand in corners, do they? They go on the main paths and things like that. So pockets of energy can contain things. I remember I went somewhere. Where did I go? I was in a crumbled down church in Ireland, in a field in Ireland. It had no roof. It was open to gods, and it was beautiful. And I was going there, and I went around the outside of it, and I said to the man who was with me, something weird about this spot here. Something like I don't want to walk through it, or it feels weird, doesn't feel nice. Somebody was murdered there. I don't know, it's centuries old, but you could still feel that in this old place where not many people walked. I could still feel that within the energy of that space. That was really, really interesting. And I did some scrying. So scrying is where you stare at an item, an object, a wall, a bowl of water, whatever, and see what comes into your mind. I mean, scrying really with a crystal ball or things like that. But I was scrying into the holy water font in this church because it was open, there was no roof. The rainwater had filled up the holy water font at the old doorway, and I think the crows were using it as a drinking bowl. But I started staring into this holy water, which wasn't holy water, it was rainwater, but I started to stare into it, and I was thinking, I was in the middle of, I think it was Tipperary, I'm not sure. And I could see all these Egyptians and camels and all kinds of different Egyptian references. I was thinking, that's really odd. So the lady that had taken me to the church, she said, asked me what I saw, and I told her. And she said, oh, that's so interesting because the Egyptians, because she was a historian, she was fabulous. And she said that the Egyptian people had gone to Ireland, and she was there to research. Oh, I wish my memory was a little bit better. She was there to research something else, and she told me the whole history of the Egyptian people going to Scotland, and then the Scotty people, and then they went to Ireland. And so she said, I'm not surprised you're seeing Egypt in the water bowl, because this is what would have happened here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how weird. Which just goes to show, no matter how strange it is, that things that we pick up as a psychic, we should always give what we get. Because when we don't give it, we're missing out on really interesting information.
Who would have ever thought the Egyptians were in Ireland? I mean, I would not have ever thought of that. Yeah, how amazing.
Yeah.
So crystal balls, you've mentioned that a couple times, and the scrying. Is that how crystal balls work? You just look into them, or what can you
crystal balls
say?
are brilliant. That lady, by the way, was doing research into the Knights Templar. That's right.
Oh.
That's right. Yeah. So crystal balls are fascinating. When you look into a crystal ball, if you stare into it and stare and allow your mind to go into a sort of a daydream state. I was always getting told off at school for going into a trance or going into a daydream. But that's where you need to be to read your crystal ball, in that beautiful sort of blur your eyes and just allow the imagery to start to come. And you'll start to see, it'll take a minute or two. Just stare. You're not looking for anything. You're not seeking. You're not desperately laser beaming your eyes into the crystal ball to try to see something. It's much easier than that. So relax. Just allow your eyes to just soften and stare into the one place. And then very slowly, images will start to come. You might just see, I don't know, a man. You might see a man walking a dog. You know, oh, that's interesting. Become curious about that. Oh, there's a man here walking a dog. I wonder what the significance of that is. Let's have a look for the significance of that. And what happens is you start to build up the picture within the crystal ball. So you see more and more and more things. And then what you can do is you can project yourself into the crystal ball so that you stand in it and you can see it 360 degrees and become part of what is happening within the crystal ball. You'll have to come to one of my crystal ball workshops, Andrea. I'll teach you how to do it.
That sounds absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I never thought about going into it.
You can do that with tarot as well. I teach that with tarot. You can go step into the tarot card, step in and see what is happening. Because that person in the tarot card, there's things happening to the left of them, to the right of them, above them, behind them. There's sounds, there's smells, there's fragrance there. There's so much richness within a tarot card. If you don't know the meaning of it because you can't remember, because let's face it, who can remember 78 cards and all their meanings? It befuddles our brains. So you might remember some things, but if you don't, step into the card. What are you aware of that's in the card? You know, what can you smell? What is the person feeling? What are they looking at? You know, they're looking at the card straight at you. Well, what are they seeing? Are they looking at you, or are they looking at another scene just to the side of you? What's there?
My curiosity is so piqued with the different things that you have brought forward. And it almost seems like there's a limitlessness to all of this. And the only thing that would stand in our way is our ability to be curious or imagine what we might do or how we might engage. It sounds so adventurous and so illuminating and fascinating. So, gosh, to go further with you, Anne, for everybody listening or watching us have this conversation, how can they connect with you? What's the easiest way for them?
Thank you, Andrea. Well, go to my website, anntheato.com, and have a look and see what courses I'm offering. I've got a mailing list. You can sign up for the mailing list. I don't bother people with my mailing list. Some people email their list all the time. I don't, I'm afraid. You can join my mailing list, and I do, every time I bring out a podcast, I'll let you know. So that's every 2 weeks. Or if something exciting has happened, I'll let you know about that. If I've got a new course, I might let you know about that. But other than that, I'll leave you all well alone. So you're quite safe to join the mailing list. But I've got, so my podcast is out, Psychic Matters, which you kindly mentioned. So they can go and listen to, I've got 126 episodes or something. You can go and listen to those. Or of course, as you run your own beautiful podcast, it's all free. It's all out there for us, isn't it? I've got courses coming up I run a development circle. So if anybody wants to learn how to use the psychic mind and how to use the mediumistic mind, I run what I call a development circle to master those two faculties. And I've got one in Australian and New Zealand time zone, so that runs at 10 a.m. UK in the morning. But I also, and it's on a Friday, but I also run one in the evening. So for your American audience, it's 7 p.m. UK. So, yeah, I don't know. If you go to World Time Buddy, you can line up your time zones and have a look and see. So I've got a development circle. I've also got a psychometry course coming out in September, October. And I've also got a course which I've just created called The Creative Reader. The Creative Reader. Because a lot of students come to me and they are good. They're good at what they do, but they feel like they're not quite confident enough, or I don't know if I know quite enough. And I don't think we should go out and read for the public until we're ready. I really don't think that. But I also think there are some students who could just need a little bit more encouragement to read in a slightly different way, because most people, you probably found this with your guests, Andrea, we've had training. Yes, I'm trained in mediumship and psychic, but I've trained in so many other things as well. And I can bring all of that into my readings and read in a unique way for me, for my recipient. So I've got this course called The Creative Reader for people to see what their skill set is and to build it into an ability to read for somebody. So that's that. I'm also working on this really interesting course. It's called British Mediumship, the Evidential Method. So that will be available for purchase, and that's going to run as a cohort group for 8 weeks in November and December, just before Christmas. And then, so I've got one about the evidential link, how to be very evidential in your mediumship. Then I've got one which we talked about being curious. It's called the Adventurous Medium. So how do we find information that is not just granddad boiled sweets, loved gardening? Where he's got a life story, this man. Let's tell it. Let's really tap into his story and what he's about. So adventurous mediumship in that way. I'll give you an example. I started because you kindly mentioned the Mediumship Hour, which again is a free resource. It's not a resource, it's a free thing that happens every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. UK time zone. I've been doing it for 6 years, and I work with mediums across the globe to do a free demonstration of mediumship every Tuesday. And in there, I was doing a demonstration, and I said to this lady, or I just said to the room, the gallery, this is very curious. I'm standing in a small space. Oh, as I stand in this small space, it's made of wicker. Oh, I'm standing in a wicker basket, which is quite small. Oh, there's a hot air balloon above me. I'm floating in a hot air balloon. I'm a man. I know that I look out over my land, and I'm checking on my land as I look out in this hot air balloon. What a strange thing to say. Lady put her hand up. This is my father. He had a hot air balloon. He used to float it over his grapevines to check on them from the sky. I mean, that sort of thing is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I mean,
you just can't make that kind of thing up.
No, that's right. So the Adventurous Medium, that will take place in January. So that's for that sort of thing. Let's look for some other things that are there. And the next one is the Demonstrating Medium. So I've got loads of stuff coming up all the time. So just go on my website and sign up for the mailing list, which I don't bother you with too often. And then you'll find out what courses I've got coming up. Yeah.
That's just amazing. I don't know how you find time to do all of these amazing things. I really don't, but we'll put the link to your website on the screen on YouTube, but in the description, in the show notes to help everyone find you easily so they can take the next step.
Thank you, Andrea. I do private coaching as well if anybody wants private coaching. So
yes, yeah. What a joy to meet with you. Thank you so much for being here. And wow, what an adventurous life you must have. And I just think you've probably got so many stories. So thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely, really lovely. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for tuning in. Keep trusting your truth, keep listening to your inner wisdom, and keep following what resonates. To sign up for the newsletter, leave a review, or connect, visit whatresonatspodcast.com. You'll also find everything linked in the show notes.